Welcome to your Best Defense podcast with Jacqui Ford. Passion, energy, and courage. Jacqui Ford is unintimidated and a bit untamed when she needs to be. Your best defense is a good offense. Jacqui Ford, not afraid of a fight, and always fighting for what is right.
Welcome to Your Best Defense podcast. My name is Jacqui Ford, and you are listening to a continuation of my conversation regarding federal criminal defense here in Oklahoma City. We are joined with my law partner and friend, Mr. Jack Dempsey Pointer.
And always remember this, in this country, the United States Supreme Court has said, a man's home is his castle. You cannot get into that castle without a search warrant or letting him in.
Now, hang on, Jack. If you're not guilty and you didn't do anything wrong, only a guilty person would not let them in, and only a guilty person would ask for a lawyer, right?
That's why we have to voir dire and be very careful in the selection of our jurors, Miss Ford. Because we don't want a juror in our jury panel that thinks just like that. Because fortunately, in this country, our Constitution says you are presumed innocent until found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt by a jury of your peers.
So it matters not what the agent at the door says or thinks or threatens. You should exercise those rights so that you can best protect yourself, right?
You let that, that's correct. And you let that agent cross that threshold, he can go anywhere in that house he wants to go. It's a little tough for you to revoke your permission for him to come in when he's got a badge and a gun. And he just kind of wanders around and looks at all your stuff, and you're going, well, he can't do that. Yeah, he can. You let him in. Don't let him cross that threshold. You come outside and talk to him. Because they're looking for evidence. And why are they talking to you? They want you to confess. Or tell them somebody's doing another crime or something like that. They're very adept at their jobs.
And they're nice guys. They're not mean guys.
Good Lord, they've got kids and dogs and houses and lawns and lawnmowers and the whole routine. They're all nice guys. Some of these guys are my best friend.
Yeah.
You know, but if you thought I was doing something, you'd be sitting down having a conversation with me. And you always have to say, is this conversation for the record? Hell yes, it's for the record.
It's always for the record with the federales, right, Jack?
That's exactly right. And it's always for the record when you talk to a police officer. Officer, I've only had one beer. Officer says, yes, I can smell not very heavy alcohol on your breath. By the way, do you take those OxyContin for pain? I certainly do. My back is killing me. When's the last one you had an OxyContin? Let's see, I've had 4 today. Sir, you are under arrest for driving under the influence of drugs. Mm-hmm. Be careful. They're your friends until. Okay? Now, if I have a problem and I need somebody that makes a quick decision and takes no prisoners, I don't call a defense attorney. I call a cop. I want him done. Help me, brother. I have a tremendous amount of respect for our law enforcement guys in the field.
I do too.
But anyway, back to federal criminal defense at your arraignment. If you're indicted by a jury of 16 to 23 people, you do not have a right to have a preliminary hearing. You do have a right to have a hearing for detention, whether you can be detained or not. That judgment call is usually by the United States Attorney, who says, I want him detained, he's a flight risk, and he is therefore a danger to the community. You must always know what to do, and that's why it's important to have an experienced Oklahoma City criminal defense attorney in federal matters, like Ms. Ford and myself. It's critical that you have somebody that knows what stage of the proceeding is, what laws involved, how the procedure works. I can assure you, within the sound of my voice, in Oklahoma, there are probably not more than a dozen experienced federal criminal defense attorneys. It's just a field of endeavor that a lot of people don't like to do, mainly because of that damn 70-day rule. You know, they're ready to go when they file their indictment, they are ready to go to trial.
Well, and you have to have a trial lawyer, too, because there's no such thing as a plea agreement in federal court, right?
All plea agreements are blind pleas.
Which means the judge is making decisions. Litigation is going to happen, whether you've agreed and admitted your guilt or not. You still have to argue to the court. So you have to be with a lawyer who is experienced in the courtroom, who is able and willing to stand up to a federal court judge or to a jury, because you don't get to agree to a deferred and everybody go home and just sign here and everybody is on about their business. This is not state court. So at every proceeding, you have to have somebody who's ready, willing, and able to put 12 in the box. That's why a trial lawyer is what you're looking for.
Federal trial lawyer.
Federal trial lawyer.
There's a lot of people, a lot of good state trial lawyers, but they don't come up to federal court. 2 reasons. It's a rocket docket. And I mean, and you've got to be prepared. You can't take your time reading through Title 18 and see what the federal rules are and all this kind of good stuff. You got to know all that stuff.
You got to know it and be ready to go on the fly.
That's exactly right. Because
that's why I'm so glad I have you, Jack. I get to piggyback on the back of your 45 years of experience and have the benefit of learning about those sentencing guidelines from the best of the best.
Oh, sentencing guidelines. Oh, I actually that was in 1984. I don't even think you were born then, were you?
I was born in 84. I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but I was certainly around then.
Well, let's put it this way. I was trying a case, okay?
I was not even in school.
That's kind of what I figured. Yeah, when the sentencing guidelines were passed by Congress and everybody was going, oh my God, you know how government likes charts and menus.
Oh, they're demonstrative aids.
Oh, yeah.
Towers of power.
And they go down through here and it says this, and you go over Part I, Part B, and so on and so on. That's what the sentencing guidelines are. They were passed in 1984. They were ruled constitutional by the United States Supreme Court in 1987. And the year 2003, I think, the United States Supreme Court found the United States sentencing guidelines were no longer mandatory, but were now advisory. And it gave the judges back the ability to look at a certain defendant who's already paid back a couple $100,000 in a bank embezzlement case, nobody, no harm, no foul, and say what a waste of time it is to put this guy in jail at the tune of $3,800 a month. Let's just put him on probation, make sure he does all these things. And when he finishes probation, thank you very much, you can become a citizen. Unfortunately, he's a convicted felon. But, you can't play if you don't pay, particularly when you get caught in a federally insured bank. It's very, very important to I cannot emphasize the experience of a federal criminal defense attorney such as Ms. Ford or myself. This federal criminal defense is no place to have training wheels on. It's impossible. It's the wrong place. Too much is involved. The crimes, the penalties are too draconian. Right now, the emphasis is on human trafficking, a deplorable crime. A deplorable crime. We've handled some human trafficking cases.
Yes, we have.
Before that, it was the HIDTA, High Interdiction Drug Enforcement. High Impact Drug Enforcement, HIDTA. That basically worked with methamphetamine. They were after that. Before that, it was Section 924C, guns. A convicted felon in Oklahoma can possess a long rifle for hunting purposes, shotgun or rifle.
That's the state law.
That's the state of Oklahoma law. Can't have any pistols. A convicted felon under the federal system cannot even possess ammunition. No gun involved, just ammunition.
So not only is the punishment sometimes harsher, the procedure sometimes harsher, but also the ultimate constitutional rights you walk away from are much greater than that which you might see in state court. And that's why another reason there's such a huge difference between a state court lawyer and a federal criminal defense lawyer.
I get a kick out of these people that say, oh, he got off on a technicality. Very few people realize that these technicalities are the Bill of Rights. They are constitutional protections that were given to us over 200 years ago. Here, they can't have a warrant until they come in your house. It's got to be issued by a magistrate, a impartial magistrate upon probable cause. We're not going to let you cross that man's threshold at all. That works for the federales as much as it does for the state. And it's more important that people understand that their constitutional rights are granted to them in federal court in bigger portions than in state court. And I'm not saying state court does not care about it. It's just the volume of people that are charged in state court. Ms. Ford, how many times have I told you what the conviction is for a federal criminal defense defendant?
Several times.
And what would that number be?
98%.
98% of the people charged across the United States, charged, 98% are convicted. Now, what have I told you about the 2% Club?
There aren't very many of you around.
And what is the 2% Club?
Those that have received an acquittal in federal court. It is a badge of honor.
Ms. Ford, you and I are in that category, aren't we?
Yes, sir, we are.
And
we've had a lot of good luck in federal court.
Nobody understands the 98%, the 2% Club, because people just go merrily down the way. You know, they go to their movies and their theaters and their concerts and this and that and the other. They never think about the federal government. Ms. Ford, you know what the federal government told you when to get up this morning?
Apparently they did, Jack. Tell us why the federal government told me when to get up this morning.
Did you ever hear of daylight savings time?
I have.
And who established that?
What? The federales?
That's correct. And Ms. Ford, when you go to the ladies' room, do you know the federal government tells you what, where, and when, or where you can go to the ladies' room?
Man, I haven't really ever thought about the federales when I was in the ladies' room, but tell me how they control that too, Jack.
Did you ever hear of the EPA?
Yes, sir.
And have you ever looked at your water bill at your home or apartment where it says unfunded mandate, unfunded federal mandate?
I've always wondered what that fee was.
Basically, what that is that the federal government has said, you build this kind of a sewer system or you build this kind of a wastewater system, and we don't have any money for you. You build it. We don't care how you build it. That's why it's called federal unfunded mandate. So there's just two examples of how the federal government has encroached in our lives now. When you get in trouble with the feds, you gotta have somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, like Miss Ford. Knows the right questions to ask, and specifically knows what to do. People in state court, I cannot tell you the admiration I have for any attorney that goes in front of a jury, their peers, 12 people, and actually tries a case on behalf of the defendant. But it's not that easy to take that person out of a state courtroom and put him into a federal courtroom.
It was a hard transition for me when I moved from state court practice to federal court practice. It is a very different beast, if you will. I'm enjoying it, learning the ropes. But it is quite different than anything I've ever done before as an attorney, and it's very different to even talk to my friends and colleagues about it. They oftentimes are shocked at the pace, at the rules, at how bound we might get up in the rules, and it's a difficult thing to move forward with. And I think our clients are very lucky because when they come here, they don't just get the benefit of me with all the energy and the mouth and the fight and the fire, but they also get you with the great experience. Because I think it's okay to tell our listeners that oftentimes federal court cases, almost every one of them, not every one of them, but most of them, we do together, whether they're your clients or my client. And I think it's an incredible service that they get. They get both your experience and my youthfulness, but together they've got a lot of attention, a lot of love, and a lot of dedication to what's going on in their defense. I know.
I would not be associated with you and our staff if I did not believe that wholeheartedly. It's a journey that you and I began together, and hopefully we'll end together. Anyway, I think that's enough.
Thank you so much, Jack, for talking to us today. I know you're going to talk to us again soon. We're going to do more on federal court practice, the ins, the outs, what our clients need to know, and what people need to know about federal criminal defense here in Oklahoma City. So thank you so much, Jack, for joining us today.
You're quite welcome.
Thanks for listening to Your Best Defense Podcast. If you need a passionate, energetic, and unintimidated defense attorney, contact Jacqui at FordLawOKC.com or call 405-604-3200. Remember, your best defense is a good offense. Jacqui Ford, not afraid of a fight, and always fighting for what is right.